This is Swing the Hammer. I'm Coach Jeremy Hoy. I've spent my life coaching world-class athletes, business leaders, and everyday people chasing something more. Every episode, we talk with folks who've been through it, the wins, the failures, the lessons, everything that you learn by getting your hands dirty. No fluff, no shortcuts. Just real people, real stories, and what it takes to build something that lasts. Be the hammer, not the nail. Well, welcome to Swing the Hammer. I'm Coach Hoy, and today I've got a man who knows what it means to grind, overcome obstacles, perform at a very high level, win, and ultimately lead. Joining me today is retired professional ice hockey player Mason Jobst, who I had the privilege of training his senior year at The Ohio State University.
That was a good intro. I liked it.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So my journey in hockey started at 3 years old in Indiana. By chance, my aunt was at a Target and got me just like a little plastic hockey stick. No one in my family ever played hockey. There was really no one pushing me. It was just by chance that she got me that stick, and for some reason I was just obsessed with it. Never put it down. I had a German short hair pointer at the time. My parents did, and as a kid, there's all these videos of me just like whacking a ball and him kind of playing defense. And awesome. I feel like naturally he was just with me every day playing lockdown D. So that was probably pretty helpful.
Yeah.
And then when I was 4, my parents got me a pair of skates, slapped some skate guards on it, and I just cruised around the house all day, every day in skates awesome. On the hardwoods.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it was inside of me, but I definitely had a love for it since I was a child. Even when I was just going through some old stuff, my parents just moved, and I had some things of like, what do you want to be when you're older, from like kindergarten. And I don't ever even remember writing this, but I wrote professional hockey player at like such a young age before,
cool.
So that was pretty cool for me to see, because it's been 25 years since I wrote that, and it came to fruition, which was awesome. But not a big hockey market in Indiana, so kind of just played house hockey and AA hockey the majority of my life. There was always temptations and people moving from Indianapolis to Chicago to play AAA in those different types of things, and I was very sure that I didn't want to leave Indy, regardless if it was going to make me better. I think at that time I was just like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, enjoying my friends here. I'm just going to stick around, even if it's a lower level, and play AA, and it all worked out. And I'm so happy that I did that. So
yeah, and that brings up a great point, because I have a lot of athletes, and in doing this for 25 years, there's always it's always a discussion we have with a lot of parents. It's like,
yeah,
at what point do I got to be at AAA? And if I don't make the AAA team in my area, do I need to go bill it somewhere? Is our AAA, if our AAA team isn't good, where do I need to go bill it?
Yeah.
How do I seek those development opportunities? So from your perspective, obviously doing AA for as long as you did, right? I mean, it's as I always preach, it's all about development, right? You got it's long term. It's a long term model. It's not where are you right now? It's where do you want to go and work your way and create your plan, your path to get there. So what opportunities do you think that I guess, what did you do? Were you doing extra power skating? Were you doing skill stuff? Like, what was available to you at the time, or what do you think kids should be doing in that similar situation?
Man. Well, I know this seems like a big topic in youth sports right now, is like playing multiple sports.
Yeah,
I was very into lacrosse in my hockey off season. I would say my whole team of hockey players kind of transitioned to lacrosse, and I was also really into golf. So I wasn't doing things year round. I know things have changed a bit nowadays, but I was definitely obsessed with other sports when the time came, which I thought was pretty beneficial to me.
Yeah, and I think it's still very beneficial. So I'm glad you pointed that out. That's a great point.
Yeah. I would say, like, once I started getting a little bit older and was like decided that I wanted to really pursue hockey. Like I honestly remember like having a moment where I was like, I'm getting to the point where like I need to make a decision internally of like what do I want to do. This is probably early middle school, high school, and I was like, I'm going to be dedicated to making it professionally. Like that was my whole goal. Um, and what I think probably made the biggest change in my development was like I had printed off a calendar and posted it on my garage fridge, and we had some tiles in the driveway and a net, and all of it's all just super beat up, like none of it's clean, nice new stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and I would basically write like the number of pucks that I would shoot every single day, and I had to write it every day, and it was somewhere probably between like 200 to 400 pucks per day.
Wow.
And I just remember like that one summer just taking like such a big step, and it just gave me a ton of confidence. So I feel like it's little things like that. I'm not saying like shooting pucks is going to change everything for you. Like there's so many other skills to hockey, but I think the way that I approached that is kind of the way I approached everything in my development. I was literally starving for an edge to find a way to get better. Training, like I would never, I guess the other thing too is like, no one ever really had to tell me to go to the gym or like anything like that. Like that was all very easy and internal for me, which was nice. I know it's not the way for everybody, but I would never miss like a single workout, my own workouts. And if I said I was going to do something, I just had this little internal voice that I was like, I would never lie to myself. That was the one thing that I still carry with me today is like, if I say I'm going to do something small, I like make sure to keep that promise to myself when it comes to like little habits. And then high school things, as far as like my journey, it came to a point where I was a sophomore in high school and it's like, okay, this is probably, I'm old enough to where I probably should move away because we didn't have a U16 or a U18 team that year, which just really put a damper on a lot of things. So it was either move away, go to Detroit, go to Chicago, play AAA, probably where I belonged, or stick in town and play Indiana high school hockey. And I stuck around, decided to play Indiana high school. And, that was probably something that could have absolutely derailed my future, my career, just because like it was going to such a low level of competition. But my dad really instilled in me just practice habits, compete, just like the little details. He was just always on me about hard work, and ended up obviously having a really good season as far as high school hockey goes. And the first like true test to see how that changed my development was I ended up going to the Mid-Am camp in Ohio, and then made the national development camp, which was going to be really cool for me to see where I stacked up on a national level, and ended up leading that camp, the entire country camp, in scoring out of Indiana high school hockey while being 5'7", 5'8". And it was just like one of those things where it was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, where'd he come from, right? Yeah, you weren't playing AAA somewhere. You're high school, Indiana of all states, right? Not known for high school hockey for sure.
Exactly. But they're like, now reflecting, there was some sort of like confidence I had, even just from playing at a low level of like scoring or producing, of just like, this is a mentality of like, this is what I do, regardless of who I'm playing against. Like when you score that much, it's just kind of like, this is what I do regardless. So I had a ton of confidence in myself when I got to that camp. And then I would say that camp was kind of the moment that changed my career, where I really made a name for myself and started getting interest from universities and all the rest of the things.
And that's awesome. Like did you kind of unpack so many things in that, just in that little bit of, that window of your journey, and that One thing I tell everybody right now, even my own kids, it's like there's no this is the exact path you got to follow. Just because somebody else did that doesn't mean that you have to do that. It worked for that person, and you've got to kind of carve your own path and figure out where that goes, right? But you can't, that path doesn't matter if you cannot instill the habits that are necessary and fall in love with the process of wherever that takes you, right? And that's something that sounds like that you did at an early age, and your dad kind of encouraged that as well, which is huge, right? I mean, going out and hitting those shots, and I mean that's important in every sport. I have kids, and it's like, look, it's great, man. You're coming into the gym, you're coming in training with me. Even in the off season, 5 days a week, we're doing 2 days of speed, we're lifting, we're doing all these great plyos. You're getting better, stronger. But you're a lacrosse player, dude. You're hitting the rebounder twice a week. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you expecting? Like, this has to be something that you did. And I can't make you do it. Your parents, they can make you do it, but you're going to eventually start to hate that and resent that, right? Yeah. If you don't have that inside where you just wake up and be like, man, I want to go do this. I need to do this. And it's you competing against yourself, right? Like you're writing the number of shots down. Yeah. And let's say it's 200 today. It's like, all right, well, great. I did 200 all week. But my last 50, you've got to be bar down or whatever. Like you start to create new challenges for yourself, or maybe it's 300. What's it like? If 200 makes you this good, what about 300 quality intentional shots? Is going to make, how much better can that make you? Right. Yeah. And then, people get less caught up on, the AAA versus AA, or I'm on the A team versus the B team, and it's like I just saw something recently. There's a it might have been Caleb Downs. Like the Downs brothers are obviously really good football players. Their dad played in the NFL, and he was being interviewed, and he talked about how it was never about what level of team his boys were on. He's like, I found what I thought was the best coach for development, and I let him coach them. Like, hey, coach my boys up, coach my kids. They'll have plenty of time to compete. It's all about development now. It's not about, I need him to be the 12-year-old best, 12-year-old national champion, for this team. And that whole concept leads down this whole new slippery slope of, well, what about NIL? Because now these kids in high school can start getting NIL, and I don't even know what that looks like because we don't have it in Ohio right now. But it's like, well, I need my kid to have these stats to be able to compete and be known and be a whatever star at 15. And it's way different than kind of the world you came through. This whole thing is, and it's interesting because I think that's why you want to root for Indiana a little bit, right? The Hoosiers a little bit, because it's in some of these programs that don't have like, hey, we have 0 stars. We have this, and we're building teams, we're developing players, and we're still going to win. Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, it is cool. I like it, and I think that's just kind of a continuation and extension of what you're saying, in that develop, right? Play multiple sports, develop, spend time in development. Do the little things right, no matter, and that's something that doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter if you're in a pocket that has the worst hockey or worst lacrosse or baseball or whatever it is, you can still improve, you can still get better. Yeah, and I think that's one of the first things I noticed about you as an athlete is kind of your commitment, your passion, and almost like your obsession with self-improvement.
Yeah, it's right? A love. Honestly, like what I've kind of found is like it's a love of learning. And that is applicable to, it's literally applicable to everything. Everything. From how do I take a one-timer to how do I get stronger in this movement, like to now I'm in the real world, and it's like, how do I apply this to my business? I'm finding that is the true underlying thing that I feel like is transferable. Yep. Like, is that love of learning and just trying to figure out, and on it, like I do believe almost everybody has it inside of them, like a love of learning. It's just like recognizing it and seeing how to apply it. Like even guys that are playing video games all the time, that you may be considered like, okay, well, my kid just plays video games nonstop, but I bet he's watching Twitch, and I bet he's watching other streamers play video games all the time. And that is just a love of learning, of like, they want to be better themselves. And they're trying to watch players to improve. Like, it is all over the place.
Yeah, you can't tell me they like losing in their video games, right? Like
Yeah.
no one likes that.
Exactly.
Right.
So figuring out how to recognize that and apply that. And as you get to higher and higher levels, the details become smaller and smaller, and you have to focus on it more and more. But that's the fun part. Like I loved the off seasons because it was just like, okay, what am I hammering out this summer that I'm gonna get way better at? Like for example, last summer, I bet I went 27 years barely being able to take a one timer. Like legit. 6 years pro, I could barely take a one timer. And I was like, this is the summer that I'm going to figure out how to take a one timer. And I just absolutely dissected frame by frame all the mechanics of the best players in the NHL. How are they doing it? Like such small details. I go to the gym, I replicate. I have a camera on me, frame by frame. What am I doing different? I get a machine because I can't get someone to pass me pucks all the time like I want. I buy a machine that's going to pass me pucks. Like just the little things to try to improve. And then over 12 weeks of the summer, like by the end of summer, my one timer was unreal. I scored like a couple goals right away on the power play, got my opportunity, and it changed like the course of my career.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a little thing of recognizing where there's opportunity and really learning a skill and mastering it in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's extreme attention to detail, right? And that's that obsession to learning, and also recognizing and being able to acknowledge that you've got a weakness, right? Like there's some, like most people, ego tends to get in the way. And I find that it's even more on the athletes that aren't there, that haven't made it. They try to protect that ego. And it's like, dude, you're never going to make it to that next level unless you gotta set that aside. Like you can have an ego when you need it, right? I get that. Like that's also important. You gotta have that confidence, right? But at the same time, it's like you need to acknowledge that these are some areas you got to work on. And it doesn't mean you suck. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It's just going to make you a much better player and harder to replace, right? Like that as you climb and as you've experienced, dude, at the next level, at the higher you go, everybody's good. Like everybody's good, and they've got something, but they all have gaps. They all have little things they've got to work on, and some won't work on it, right? And maybe their strength, maybe that thing that they're really good at, they're one of the best in the world, and that's good enough to give them a career for how many years, right? But maybe it's not. Maybe they're just like, hey, you're just better than most. But this other guy over here doesn't have these other three weaknesses. And so he's going to stick longer. You're going to get a chance, but he's going to stick longer because they like that he can go in these situations and pick up in these areas. So it's like where, keep improving your strength, obviously, but also work on the areas that you're weak and improve those as well. And be obsessed with it. Like you said, it's don't be afraid to admit that you don't know something or you're not good at something. And that I find that's such a hard thing for so many people.
Honestly, like from what I've seen in my pro career, the guys that are legit like the most talented and the best, like their fear of like failure is like so low. Like they'll go out and practice and I'll be like, what is this guy doing? He looks horrible, but he's just trying like random ass,
trying new things, right?
Trying new things, and he doesn't care what the other guys on the ice think. Or like me, part of my problem was that I was too worried about trying new things, and I know that was limiting to my own self. Just that one little care about what other people think of trying stuff.
Yeah, and you can't care, right? Like that's their opinion doesn't matter to you, and there's no, don't validate it. That's a big part. I was trying to see, I had a quote I heard recently about something like that. Let me see. I don't know if I can find that. Probably not, but I love that though. I mean, it's a great point that everybody at that level, the higher you go, you got to do your thing, right? It doesn't matter. And I think that's a lesson that even working with my kids when they were younger, it's easy to get caught up in the feelings, right? Easy to get caught up in the feels and be like, this what somebody says, or you're going to get judged regardless, right? And then I know there's a quote is other people's opinions about you are none of your business. So it doesn't matter, right? It's just none of your business. You don't. Who cares? Who cares? Just let it roll off. But that's great. And I know that I think this past year you were also diving into some VR stuff, right? Like just to kind of elaborate more on that too. Like you're like, hey, I'm trying to find other players, and you look at football and you got Jaden Daniels is looking, they're doing all these VR things. Football, it's like, hey, what can I do for hockey? Why not? If it's helping them, can it help me? And the hand cooling, like I know you tried a lot of different things just to find an edge, right? You're just trying to find an edge.
And to build off that, like not everything's going to work either. Yeah. Like, the VR thing was a fail. Like it just, the system wasn't in place enough. I obviously got it to work on scanning, like being able to look around the ice and be able to make decisions rapidly before you get the puck. And that's a whole nother thing that I obsessed about. All those studies from soccer teams of the best players in the world are looking around them at a rate that's higher than the guys that are not as good as them. Like their ability to take in information faster makes them so much better. And trying to apply just that thing from a different sport, because hockey's a little behind as far as research and development goes in those types of areas. So I was trying to do this different stuff with VRs, and it just wasn't. It'll get there, I believe, but it's just not there yet. And yeah, the story on Jaden Daniels and them loading up his playbook and going through all his routes and decisions beforehand, the week leading up to a game, and how much that made an impact positively was what really pushed me over the edge to be like, okay, I should look into this and at least try it. So that's an example of something that didn't work for me. The hand coolers, that's just another tiny thing. There were some articles, I can't remember who it was. It was a tennis player that had them on the court. And it was just some studies saying that keeping your body temperature, your core body temperature, lower will allow you to go longer, process more information faster. So I had these little tubes that were ice cold, and I would hold them on the bench in between shifts. And it's one of those things where, like, at first I'm like, oh God, what are the guys going to say? Like, Mason's bringing cold bottles on the bench.
Yeah. What's he doing? Right.
You got to get over it. Like, who cares? Like, if it's going to give me an edge, even if it's the smallest edge, then I'm going to do it. And by the end, you got 6 guys that are asking me to use the tubes by the end of the year all the time. Because wow, this works. So there's like all these different things. It's just like but it comes back to finding your edge, love of learning. Another thing that really worked for me was face-offs. That was a small skill within the game that I took very seriously later in my career to try to earn more ice time. And video was a huge help for that, being able to break stuff down frame by frame, seeing what the best guys are doing. Like you really got to actually sit down and think about it. Like you can't just watch a hockey game and watch the face-offs and be like, oh, I'm going to get better at face-offs. Like you have to slow it down so much. And maybe your computer doesn't have the ability, or wherever you're downloading the video file from, you can't slow it down frame by frame. But like you can't stop there. You got to find some sort of software that's going to allow you to break that down frame by frame. And I would study every guy in my league. Like if I was going into a game, I would download the last 5 games of a guy, watch all his film, and like come the first face-off, it was legit hilarious. Like being like, wow, this guy, I know exactly what he's going to do.
Everything. Yeah.
By like last year, I think I was 62%. Like second place in the entire league. Like it was just fun to see the results of putting a little bit of thought and effort into the smallest skill.
Yep. Yeah. It's studying and breaking it down. And that's something that probably, so when did you first start getting into film? Like obviously you can process it, but probably wasn't something you were doing in high school. It's probably something, I know at Ohio State, the coaching staff, breaks down stuff really
Yeah.
well,
I
really
mean,
well.
that's what like, it's not like football, because football is just, there's so many just patterns that happen over and over.
Yeah,
Hockey's just organized
tons of
chaos.
film. Yeah,
So I find most people don't watch hockey. Like, there's so many guys on my team in pro that don't watch hockey, and it's their job.
yeah,
So I found like there is a huge advantage in taking the time to watch your film. So I didn't start till later, but like the new systems and softwares have really allowed that. I would say, like in college, I remember asking coaches for face-offs, but I would have to go every week to my assistant and be like, "Hey, can you give me the face-offs of this guy?" Where
yeah,
nowadays, like it's accessible just through like Instat, and
yeah.
there's plenty of places where I can grab it and do it on my own. I didn't have to ask people, and that's when I really started doing more and more, I think, and saw huge benefits.
Yeah, and I think to your going back to your point about using resources and tools and just that self-improvement, right? That passion for self-improvement and being obsessed with learning and becoming better. And now with, I mean, you got, in the palm of your hand, you got the phone that is, it's a million times better than the computers I had back when I was 100 years ago when I was in college. Like it's so much better now. And so I'm finding that even some high school kids here in Ohio who are really serious about lacrosse are basically employing, they're finding these online video coaches who are former players, college pro guys that are just incredible at breaking down positional, skills. And just talking and working with some kids over the last 2 years, some high school lacrosse players, they have improved significantly just from, after every game they're sending the film to the coach, and the coach is cutting it, and then they're meeting once a week, or once every other week, or whatever it is, and it's like they're learning so much about just positional stuff. And like it'd be whether it's where are you as a D, you're off, your angles are off as a deep hole, this and that, and it'd be very similar to what you're talking about from a face-off perspective. And so I think that for high school kids who are very limited on time right now, just because it's like they get the homework and they're sports, you're just limited on hours. And I know that breaking down film, there are a lot of coaches that is now something that's pretty readily available. I think if you just do some searches online, and I don't know how much that's is available for hockey. I know that just being around some AA teams in the last couple of years, some of those coaches are doing team film. Like they're going over some things that each player on the team as they're going over video from the last game, and then they're going over some stuff for new games. I don't know if they do positional stuff or not. I think
that's, to me, that's two different videos. Like, I think if you're serious about it, you need to find someone that will watch your film just you. Like,
just you.
Coaches are focused on the team, the systems. Very few are going to have the time to watch your individual clips and give you honest feedback. That, like, honestly, it's not really their job. So I saw a huge improvement when I started working with not even a skills coach. I started working with Adam Oates when I was like 28. So I was 2 or 3 seasons with him, and another just like, wow, I should have done this 15 years ago type thing, of like just the small details that someone else that's not my dad or someone super close to me, unbiased, watching my film, I started learning so much more, even at such an old age after playing the game for so long, which then was really exciting to me because it was more things to work on and like dive into. So that was awesome. Highly recommend. I wish I could give some feedback. Like, I've thought about doing film too, because I feel like, man, I learned so much in my time. I would like to give some of that back to people. Haven't started that, but I do think that individual skills coaches that are watching video can be super beneficial.
Yeah,
if you're serious about getting better.
Yeah, and so were you working remotely? Is that kind of how you were? Like you send it?
You guys would just upload my film and send me clips to watch, different concepts, NHL clips. I mean, watch the best. Like, you can learn so much by watching Kucherov, all his clips. It'll take you 20 minutes to watch all his clips from one game, and you'll be like, the other, I guess, big thing is just like pattern recognition. Like there's a ton of intelligence in just like pattern recognition. Even the most chaotic sport of hockey, there are patterns that happen over and over and over. And when you watch a game, you can't pick up on them. But you watch Kucherov and you watch 10 games of his in a row, just his clips, ISO cam him, you'll start to notice these patterns. And these happen in your own game too. Like what I would do after every season, I would take a week or two off, and then I would go back and I would watch every shot attempt I had, every single one of them. And I would see these glaring patterns. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so many shots from this pocket of the ice, and I cannot hit this shot. Like I didn't score one. And like in a season, you'll have 100 shots. So it's like not that many.
Right.
So you have to take advantage of every one of them. And that's where like first like observe the patterns and then figure out how to improve on the patterns. In other sports, there's obviously patterns that are way more apparent than hockey.
Yep. Yeah. And that's something where I was just working with some goalies, last week and this week. And there's a dynamic vision training exercise that you do with playing cards. Mm-hmm. And it's about hand speed. It's about certain things, but it's also about taking snapshots of certain images and recognizing patterns, right? Yeah. Because it has to do like everything and I tell them these are hockey, one's lacrosse. And I was telling them, my experience working with all the hockey goalies over the years is the players on the ice, there are patterns. Like it's going to be repeated over and over. You're going to see a lot of the same stuff in your career. Right.
Yeah.
And I was showing them, I actually was just discussing pattern recognition because I'm like, we go ace through 7, they face it, they look at it, ace through 7, the cards are up. And then, or they're facing away. I put all the cards up. I say, set, go. They jump around. They see ace through 7. Then they flip them over and they flip them back in order, ace through 7. And every time they mess up, they got to start over. Right. Mm-hmm. But no matter how random I put the cards there, ace through 7, there are always some patterns to recognize. Mm-hmm. And they didn't believe me when I said it at first. And then I start pointing out the different patterns, which was pretty incredible. So pattern recognition is something that I feel like isn't talked about much, but it is definitely there. And I think that, addressing that in some way, it could be, and the card game is the simplest form. Like it's not necessarily sports. It's not sports specific. You're not looking at hockey, ice hockey videos or game film or anything, or where you were and analyzing that, but it just gets your mind used to thinking and recognizing things a little differently, which opens it up to seeing things better in your sport.
Yeah.
So I like that. That is good. And I think with this new technology, it used to be you had to go to the rink to get the skill stuff, right? You really had to go, which became a challenge because then there's, you're limited in the time they offer it. Now I think, there are opportunities that you can, if you want it and if you're really serious about it, you can find it. It's there. Yeah. Like almost anything, right? Like you said, you start digging into the research, or you find articles from other sports about the hand cooling, and now the hand cooling technology. There are some other companies, the narwhals. Like there's some really good companies that are that research. I've seen it go into now firefighters and police and emergency responders, and how it's helping them cool. fight these big fires. And it's that that makes sense. It's kind of neat. But it all started with that tennis, that little bit of research, and that's pretty cool. And then I know I'm going to switch a little bit, but we were talking earlier about how I was telling you, giving examples of some kids that have had some injuries in the last year, and the different perspectives from some of the families and some of the kids thinking like, well, it's it's kind of over for me now. I got this injury I can bounce back from. And I know you watch any kind of pro sport, and man, there's injuries every day, right? These the athletes are getting bigger, faster, stronger, and the game is getting faster, and so it's a lot. It's very physical, right? I don't have to tell you that. And in your experience, because I'm pretty certain you've had some injuries, what were some of the, you don't have to say exactly what they were, but what was your mindset around some of your injuries, and I guess what helped you kind of get through them and get you back reacclimated and back on the ice and ready to go again faster?
Yeah. My biggest injuries were my shoulders for sure. I had three separate labrum repairs, basically back to back to back, which was
Wow.
6 months, 6 months, 6 month. So that was really hard time. Just it took so long. It was really hard. It was at like the age where I was probably 16 to 20. So like where I really needed to be getting stronger. And my summers were just basically rehabbing my shoulder. So I lost a ton of weight. That was really challenging.
I guess that's to me, that's one of the, honestly, in a lot of contact sports, labrums are very common. It's one of the
Yeah.
most common injuries I see. And that is you brought up a point where it was like starting at 16. I mean, that's a crucial time for recruiting.
Yeah.
And
I killed all my recruiting
yeah,
for
that's
years.
tough. So how did you, how was your mindset during that? I guess, how did you, what helped you be like, because I'm working with kids and they're just like, I got hurt. I'm a sophomore. I just had this surgery. I'm not going to get recruited. It's over. So they immediately go negative.
Yeah.
The human mind likes to go negative immediately.
Yeah.
What helped you? I guess, what were some strategies or some things that you did that kind of helped you through that?
I mean, I felt like I just kind of approached rehab and stuff like everything else, where I was, very diligent and serious about getting better. I'm not sure I thought it would end my career, but I did think, I like honestly at the time thought like, okay, maybe I should think a little bit about post hockey and what I want to do if things don't work out. And that's when I started studying. I was always an entrepreneur, but was like, okay, what can I do as a career post hockey, when I was probably 17 or 18, and just read a ton of books and stuff and was like, okay, I'm going to do real estate development. Like decided back then, which helped my recruiting because not a ton of schools have any sort of like degree in commercial real estate developing. Most of it's just like business.
Mm-hmm.
And Ohio State ended up having that degree, which really was another reason I was drawn to Ohio State for that. But I would say like that phase of life, once I got through that, I was like, okay, I need to start doing more like prehab stuff. What can I be doing taking care of my body to make sure this stuff doesn't happen moving forward? College, I missed one game due to injury in my whole career. So I kind of figured after I had all those injuries, stayed extremely healthy. And then turning pro, I got into reading the TB12 before going pro, because I was like, okay, this guy's obviously figured out longevity. What's he doing? Dissected that, became obsessed with that. Still have implemented all his pliability and rolling out habits into my life, even today, post hockey. As far as I basically just came up with the same pattern of rolling out every day post or pre workout. Takes me like 4 minutes. And there's plenty of days I don't want to do it, but as far as like muscular problems and like those types of preventative issues, I had zero of those. So that made me a believer in the whole hydration pliability stuff. But that's more prehab than it is what do you do when you're injured. A lot of my pro problems were concussions, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
that's a tough one, because I know there's
really hard to.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion about, well, if the neck is stronger, if this is stronger, the yoke, the traps, but it's like, dude, it's your brain. Like it's really hard. And it's the same thing with labrums. Like labrums are really hard, especially in hockey. Like if you're reaching for a puck and your arm's extended and you land on that shoulder, and the ice is not forgiving, the boards are not forgiving. it's just different, and I think that's why you see a lot of it. They're not always through physical contact, person to person. That just there's a lot of other ways to kind of pop that out or mess it up. And I see it in box. I see it in box lacrosse. I see it in a lot of different sports like that. Concussions are tough. They're a little different, right? I mean, their huge mindset is really important to kind of getting back from that as well. And it's just kind of you start to approach maybe your contact or your heads up hockey, like just different things that you do a little differently from awareness perspective, just to try to be smart. And I know in football, they're trying the guardian caps, they're trying different things and even Jaden Daniels, right, with the VR. So it's like I can learn and I can process and I can practice essentially without all the physical contact and wear and tear. And my mind, I'm going to come out better on the other end, physically and mentally. And
there's a skill to it.
Yeah,
that was another thing with working with Adam Oates. His big thing is just like, how do I protect my players first to make sure that they're not putting themselves into vulnerable spots, all the way from like the size of their stick, their curve. Like there's all these little things that could force you to bobble the puck to look down, and now you're in a vulnerable spot. So like there are ways around it if you look into it. It's still tricky, but I think there is some proof that you can limit stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't have any injuries after working with him for a few years. So hard to say direct correlation, but like could be.
Yeah. Well,
it's worth doing the research and learning to
absolutely,
even if there's just a small chance of it helping.
Yeah, because it's your brain. I mean, it's kind of important for the rest of your life, right? I mean, well, I know that taking out some of the headhunters, calling that differently, taking it out in kind of all sports. The intention there is to cut back on some of the severe head trauma and neck, spinal injuries, which is obviously a positive for everybody. I think that with injuries, one thing is to your point, even it's like it's not the end, right? It's not the end. And it's not, I think it helps. Some people have a hard time with their identity, get so wrapped up into themselves as an athlete, and they forget to be grounded in the little things that got them there, right? It's like like you said, it goes back to, all right, well, I love to learn. It's like, well, man, all right, it happened once. I'm going to try to figure out some things, but your main goal was, you're young, you think you're energetic, and usually at that age, you think you're invincible. So like, I want to get back on the ice, whatever I got to do to get back on the ice. Yeah. And you're not even thinking about prehab or, what could I do differently in my training and my practice and whatever to try to prevent that from happening again. Then boom, it happens again. Right. Yeah. And now by the third time you're thinking, all right, I something's got to change here. Right. I got to do something different. Yeah. And my identity doesn't lie in that. And you were able to look outside of hockey and say, not necessarily looking at post hockey, but it's like, hey, what do I want to do in school? Like where do I see myself? Because you look at every Tom Brady, like Michael Jordan, all the best players ever, and their athletic career ends. Like they have to do something after sports, like something ends. Yeah. And so it's like, I tell everybody, it's just like when you're an entrepreneur, like you're supposed to have an end plan, right? Like what is your exit strategy? Where do you see this going? And then work yourself backwards, because it's going to help you figure that out. It's like, if it's just indefinite, then are you really planning out or mapping out your business over the long term? Yeah. So it's no different, and I think there are so many parallels and similarities between everything that you're doing mentally and all the preparation, all the execution, the love of learning, like you said earlier, and everything else you do in life, like everything, right? And that's part of the value and why, I love sports so much. And you don't have to be a pro athlete. You don't have to be competing at the highest level to see the advantages and gain the benefits of competing. Just, like I said, applying everything to yourself, your self-confidence, the becoming a better self and trying to become better every day. All those things apply regardless of whether you are still playing, whether you're playing club sports. It doesn't matter at what level. It doesn't. Yeah. And I think that some people think that, you can only get the benefit out if you're playing pro sports. You're playing at the highest level. Yeah. AAA. It's like you just gave the example earlier. No, there's different paths. You can get there. You can still get there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many great lessons to be learned through sports. I had a really good youth coach that would always bring up basically the life lesson within the game. And now, I've only been retired a few weeks, months, whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's already easy to see how many of the habits and skills are transferable into entrepreneurship, starting a business, getting up early, working. So that's been fun.
And would you think, I guess, how has sports helped you handle like some of the pressure of entrepreneurship too, right? Because it's similar, a little different, but
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like it has like stuff that you learned how to handle, the day in, day out grind of hockey, of the crowd, of everything that's going on, and the pressures of having to perform every time you step on the ice, and kind of the same thing with entrepreneurship, right? Like it's a roller coaster. You don't it's not all wins, right? Same as sports.
Yeah. No, I've seen honestly like a direct correlation. It feels like I feel like when I sit down on my computer and try to problem solve, it's really not much different than trying to problem solve in sports. Like it really feels very similar. Just so many, just networking, communications, leadership. I was honored to be the captain of a lot of different teams, and it taught me a ton of different things on how to lead men in a certain direction. And I'm already seeing how that is an incredible skill for the business world. And I'm only a few weeks into it, so I'm sure I'll see more patterns as we go. But I guess the pattern thing too, like even like sales. I'm not even doing a ton of sales yet, but it still is pattern recognition. Like if I'm making a sales call and someone's like, "Oh, I got to talk to my spouse," that's a common objection.
Yeah.
There's a pattern. Like, how do I solve that pattern? Like, if I keep doing this, I'm going to see that pattern over and over. How do I master that? It's really no different.
Yeah, it's the same thing, right? Absolutely. And then, so when I was at Ohio State, working with you, and I know that you were a captain there, right? You were a captain, I think your senior year for the men's hockey team, and then you also had the experience of being a captain at the pro level. I guess, what were some things that were similar from a leadership perspective, and I guess was there anything or glaringly different? Was there anything different? Did you have to learn some new skill sets with now that these are, because obviously, to me, I think in college, right, it's like you have that team, right? You have a little different buy-in than you would, and I think you have to earn it differently. But I want to hear kind of your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, it was interesting. I would say it's a pretty big difference. I thought the biggest difference was in pro, everyone is being paid. It's their profession. They're extremely hungry to play in the NHL. You're one phone call away from achieving your ultimate dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So the buy-in was very high. I found that in college, you would think like at Ohio State Division I level that people would have that same level of buy-in, but it's just not the same. So managing guys that are the same age as you, I found a little bit more challenging when I was just like their peer. I'm living with these guys. It's just like a little bit harder to lead that group of people while managing like the friendships, and that was a challenge for sure.
Yep.
But pro, I'm a little bit older than guys. Guys are very hungry. They're willing to listen a little bit more. So that was unique. I'm trying to think some other like skills that were, or things that were a little bit different or the same. I guess the way that like I always led was just, practice habits, very hard work. Like all those things were pretty much the same for me, just being myself. I thought I learned to become a little bit more vocal as I got older and more confident in my own voice. And belief in what I was saying and doing. But again, that just comes with time and experience, I feel like.
Yep. Yeah, and imagine in college it is different. It's a different challenge because you're wearing different hats. Like, hey, today I'm roommate and classmate Mason.
Yeah.
The second we get to the rink, I got to change hats real quick.
Yeah.
Like I got to, hey, it's time to get serious. It's time to do this. And
Yeah.
I think there's a maturity from the kids you're following that are following you too, the guys you're leading. We'd like to say that, that we're mature, but we're also guys. And, we're college age guys aren't, we're not always, I mean, I'm not
quite there.
Yeah. It's different. It's just different. And how to win them over and influence them, right? And get everybody on the same page. And that was kind of the same thing when you were part of, the interviewing for coming to Ohio State and working with your team. It's like, how do we get these guys that aren't motivated, the guys that are on the bottom, and it's not unique to Ohio State, right? It's every team. You have guys that how do you get that buy-in from everybody to that we're all moving forward, and you kind of, raise the tide and raise all ships, bring everybody up to a certain level. So our bottom is better than what it was last year, and next year it'll be better than what it was this year. And it can be the same guys, right? It's just how we develop these players and get everybody to buy in and move forward. So leadership is super, super important. And I think, having been there with you, I thought you did a great job. It was pretty cool. And I know that was a fun experience, but you had a fun senior class, and I'm sure I'll interview a couple more of those guys, get some of those guys. And I was just thinking as we were talking, and you talk about Rochester, I think I'm going to have to get interview Matt Barkowski too, and get him on. That might be more than one episode. I don't know how I'm going to, I'll lock that down, and
I'll watch that.
I'll have no direction. I'll plan no direction. I'll just get him on. I'll just get him on, and we'll talk. Like I said, man, I worked with Matt. That was years ago. So I know he's still the same guy, but it's good. It's good, man. So I know I don't want to hold you up too long. I know this has been great. I really appreciate your time. Two things, because I'm sure I'll have you back on, because we got a lot of, we always, I always appreciate our conversations. We always have a lot of great stuff to talk about. And if you could go back in time, let's say to like your middle school or high school years, right? What advice would you give your younger self?
Man,
It's not that profound either, man.
There's still like I worked hard, but there's still things I wish I would have sacrificed more of to truly make it. Like I lived out my dream of playing pro for 6 years, but like still the ultimate dream was to be great in the NHL for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So I came up short on that dream, learned a ton along the way, but I do wish at like a middle school age, I would have made more sacrifices to improve and get better. Probably, I would say.
Okay. That's good advice. And do you think, because that's something that I approach that same thing from kind of a similar way to a lot of the athletes I work with, and even my own sons, right? They're in high school, and I'm just like, what is the price you're willing to pay, right? And it doesn't mean, and I used to say I had someone a little younger in middle school, and they thought that was money. I'm like, no, like, what are you willing to sacrifice and not do? What are you willing to give up, right? Yeah. All your friends are going, it's Saturday afternoon, you have a goal of X. If whatever you wanted to hit the rebounder for an hour today and take another 200 shots for lacrosse with your non-dominant hand. All your friends are going to the zoo, just something simple, right? And you want to go too. So are you willing to sacrifice that time? And it's tough, man. That's a tough thing, because it's like there's that mental health balance of hanging out with your guys, right? Yeah. But it's like, like now there you are looking back saying, hey, there's probably a couple of those that I could have sacrificed a little bit, or hey guys, I'll show up late. I'll be there a little later. I'll meet you down there, whatever. Like there's just little things that you can do along the way, and what are you willing to do? And I know that having worked with Olympians and working in the Olympic Training Center, there are a lot of them that basically have said, to get to that gold medal, to get the podium and stand on the podium. These are a lot of Winter Olympic sports athletes, and they're like, I didn't do homecoming. I didn't do prom. I didn't do the Saturday Starbucks run with my girls. Or I didn't do this, right? So it's like they all tell stories of different sacrifices they have had to make, and not live the normal life of a teenager, right? Like you have to do things to. What are you willing to give up to get to where you want to go, right?
For sure. Obviously, it's easier to be said like this part of my life, but I don't remember a ton of those things.
Yeah. I'm the same way. And I'm almost 50, so my memory is not what it used to be. Yeah. And then second question, I guess, what final piece of wisdom do you have for any of our listeners, facing challenges? What might some of them with these injuries might seem like, hey, it's a continuous uphill battle. It could be a second or third injury. What are some things that you think could help them rise above and keep moving forward towards their goals?
As far as the injury stuff goes, I mean, continue to do your rehab and make sure you take care of whatever it is that you're having issues with at the moment. But there's so much out there, information on how to take care of your body to make sure that future injuries don't happen. And not everything is 100% going to work, but as far as nutrition and sleep and stretching and rolling out, and like there's just so many things you can be doing to limit your risk. And if you've battled injuries before, like it's the worst. When you're injured, it's legit the worst. Like the only thing you can think about is how can I get back out there? Like watching your team play while you're injured. There's literally nothing worse. So what are you willing to do to learn how to prevent future injuries is what I would say. I mean, even from like track, I mean, you got to, to me too, like you got to track stuff. Like I have been wearing this Whoop now for 4 years probably. And not that I like am obsessed with the data and whatnot, but like after wearing it for so long, you just start to see like, man, staying up for that extra hour on my phone last night, like I wake up feeling tired. I feel like I don't want to do this today.
Yep.
Like you have to have data to see how much that one less hour of sleep or 30 minutes less of sleep changes everything moving forward. So like to me, it's really helped me with my daily habits. That's just one example.
Yeah, and that's a great example because that actually ties in. So tracking your technology, there's wearables are still one of the fastest growing segments of the fitness and sports performance industry, right? It's huge.
Yeah.
And you're talking like $1 billion valuations for some of these companies like Aura and Whoop. Like it's incredible. But it ties in with the other part. It's like, all right, well now I'm willing to track this, right? And now that I know how negatively that extra 1 hour of me on my phone, and you're talking to a generation that's spending that extra hour right before bed on their phone, Instagram, whatever they're doing, right? They're scrolling social media, they're texting their boys or girl. It doesn't matter, right? Whatever they're doing, that's part of that sacrifice. What are you willing to give up? So now this generation, I talk to these kids, they're coming in, like, how was your sleep last night? I was good, man. Then I decided, I started playing a game at 10 o'clock, and then next thing I know, it's midnight, and then I had to get up at 5:30 for school. And it's like, dude, you 5.5 hours of sleep, and it probably wasn't all deep sleep because you were scrolling on your phone and playing video games. So tell me how long term, like I'm telling them, like this lack of sleep is terrible for your growth, recovery, like the focus being on recovery. I think the wearables, the tracking stuff that you're doing, is huge. And I think, I'm not saying everybody has to go do something like that. It could be something as simple as, and I know you're not a big, you don't like writing all the time, right? Like you're writing down your goals and all that kind of stuff. We talked about that, but that's fine. But tracking your habits, you're huge. You're huge on that, right? I know you did 5-minute journal, you do all that kind of stuff. And I think that these kids, even if I tell them, if they start with, hey, record how much sleep you're getting, like just what time do you go to bed, and be honest with yourself, and what time did you get up, and how did you feel? Like that could be those simple things. You write it down, a Post-it note, track it, put post notes all over your room. I don't care. Track it for a couple of weeks. And there's a pattern that goes back to your pattern recognition.
Yeah.
When I play games at night, I feel like crap the next day. Yeah. I wonder why, man. Like it's not hard.
Yeah.
You know, and no energy drink's going to save you. That's not the way it works. Then now you're in a vicious cycle of having to continue to take energy drinks to get that energy later, and you're not getting deep sleep. So it just turns into this huge downward spiral. And all you do is kind of fix your daily habits. Daily habit each day, right?
Goes back to another one of my like short obsessions was like, how do I master sleep? It was like a 4-month study that I was just like reading everything I could, consuming everything I could about how, and it's just like one of those things that once you figure it out and once you've learned all about it, like you're going to carry that skill with you for the rest of your life. Like,
yep.
I've got the cooling mattress, it's pumping cold water through my bed to make sure I'm getting like more restful sleep. Like there's just all these little things. I got the mouth tape, the eye mask. Like, it's just like, it's silly stuff, but it all adds up. And that comes back to learn. It still comes back to learn.
Yeah.
Find a way to enjoy how to learn.
Yes. Find a way. And it is, that's great advice. Find a way, enjoy learning, kind of be obsessed with the details, right? And be obsessed with the details and find a way to improve kind of every day.
Yep.
Well, that's great, man. I really appreciate us kind of hanging out, taking the time again. Yeah, this is a lot of great stuff for the listeners. I'm going to go through my quick outro. I'm going to say this real quick. So thanks for listening to Swing the Hammer today with Mason Jobst. If this hits home, share it with someone who needs to hear it, a teammate, a coworker, a parent, or a friend. Keep showing up. Keep doing the work. Be the hammer, not the nail. That's how I'm going to end it. You like that? I like it. All right, man. Hey, again, I really appreciate it, Mason.
Yeah.
We'll catch up, and I'll make sure to get you back on here sometime again soon.
Let's do it.
Thanks,
you,
man. Yep.
See ya.
We'll see ya.